And welcome to the PCS Like a Pro show, everyone. We've got another exciting episode today where we get to hear from another military family and their experience of moving under the new GHC contract with Home Safe Alliance. So I'm just going to give a minute here really quick for everybody to jump on and join us. Because I know everyone, there's a lot of people that are very interested in how the experiences are actually going and what is happening on the ground with folks that are currently trying to move or have recently moved. So we are going to get to talk with Stephanie today to hear their experience and what it was like for them. So just getting this shared into the group really quick. I think we are good. So thank you again, everybody, for joining us today. So as I said, we got Stephanie here. They recently did a PCS with the new GHC contract under Home Safe Alliance. And so she's joining us to share her family's experience, because one of the things that we have learned over the last several weeks is that regardless of whatever happens, the military, Transcom, Home Safe, they cannot discredit the experiences that families are actually having. And that is something that, the data may not exactly show, or they may be trying to hide the data on that. And so being able to hear directly from families and their experiences just helps to kind of paint that picture as to what is really happening. So we got Stephanie joining us. So let's just dive right in and kind of set the stage a little bit here. How many times has your family previously PCS'd?
We have PCS 4 times. So this was our 4th move.
Okay. And have you guys always PCS during this off-cycle winter season, or have you ever done PCSing in the summer peak season?
3 out of the 4 times has been in the off season, always December, January, which has been rough because it interrupts all the holidays.
Mm-hmm.
But we did do one where it was in July.
Okay. So everybody tuning in and watching, if you guys are military families and you're planning for a PCS, I would love to know if you guys are going CONUS, staying CONUS, if you're doing a PPM, if you're utilizing Home Safe. Just love to see an idea of what your planned experience or planned situation is currently going to be like. So you guys received your orders. How much lead time did you guys have from when you received your orders to when you set up your move, and compare that to when you guys needed to be out of your house?
Well, we received the orders beginning of November. And then about 4 days later on Veterans Day, our landlord gave us a call that we had to actually vacate within 60 days. So she wouldn't extend our time there by the 3-4 months that would match my husband's PCS, which was going to be in April. So as soon as that happened, we knew we had to get the ball rolling, and he actually had to go underway the next day and was gone for almost the entire time, up until the holiday season. So he set up everything right away. And then I believe it was the beginning of January, end of December, we had to do the virtual walkthrough. So we had to get the ball rolling pretty fast.
Okay. And so this time you guys ended up having to set your move up in mill move. Now I know you said your husband did all that. Did he share anything about how maybe mill move system compared to the DPS system?
Not really. We didn't really talk about that at that time. We were trying to more figure out all the logistics of it.
So once you guys got your move set up in the system, and that was going to be under Home Safe, what kind of communication did you guys have between Home Safe and the military side of things to getting to that, setting up the pre-move survey piece?
The pre-move survey, I actually ended up having to take charge of that since he was gone. It was very simple. I had to walk around the house with a camera. And after doing it, I didn't really feel like they would have an accurate representation of how much we had. So I was worried about that. And then one of the questions I had during that survey was if they were going to be taking apart our sleep number bed, which we had previously. They had always had it set a separate packer and a loader to actually take it apart and reassemble it. At that time, they had no idea. They said they would follow up before the pack date, which they never did. And I know I went on chat right beforehand to try to find out, like, is there going to be another mover coming for just the bed to take it all apart, because it's kind of complicated. And on chat, they didn't even know what day we were loading it. they still had a date in there that was going to be the end of January. So at that point, I knew that the people, at least on chat, didn't know what they're talking about. And it also was a very delayed response. It felt like they were dealing with more than one person all at once.
Mm-hmm.
So getting confused at like who they were talking to.
Okay. So you get your survey done. That goes smoothly. Talk to us a little bit about kind of your packing days. Were they confirmed packing days? Did your packing happen on those confirmed days? Were there any delays or issues around that?
We had about 2 to 3 confirmations beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
The morning of, we called and confirmed. They said it was good. On the automatic email, it says between 8 and 12. Whenever my husband then called at about like 11:30, they're like, oh, well, really, the email's wrong. It really is between 8 and 5, and they can stay as late as 9 p.m. And we have a school-age son, and so we're like, well, 9 p.m., that's past his bedtime. If they're not leaving till 9 p.m., I was like, it was going to be an issue with going to school the next day. Mm-hmm. So they did end up showing up that day. They showed up around 1:30, 2 o'clock, and then stayed for a couple hours, and we thought it was going smooth. That was going to be our pack date. And we were only scheduled for one pack date and one load date for all of our stuff, which I thought was also, I thought we would normally have about 3 days.
What was your estimated weight?
Our estimated weight was 12,817 pounds.
Okay. And so one pack day and one load day is what they were planning for.
Okay. When they came that first day, they did not have enough boxes. They didn't have enough packing paper. So we end up having to tell them to go out and get more, just to like wrap TVs and all that stuff. And so they actually were over at Home Depot picking up stuff that same day. And they sent 3 packers and 1 driver.
Okay. So they start packing your home. Were there any issues during that pack day and that load day that you encountered?
The pack day we thought was going very smooth. They were getting everything done. They were only there for about 4 or 5 hours the first day. And then we thought it was good. The next morning we went searching for our son's backpack for school, which has a school tablet in there. And we noticed that it's gone. It wasn't in our designated closet, which had a big sign that says "Do not pack." And so we're like looking around. We're like, okay, we're gonna have to start opening boxes at this point to find a school tablet. If not, we get charged for it. Mm-hmm. And so we started opening a couple boxes, and that's when we discovered that they had literally tossed all of our stuff into boxes without any packing paper. And like frames were just frame on frame with computer equipment sitting on top of it. Glass items were just thrown in boxes, not wrapped. My husband's guitars were just thrown in a box with a printer on top of it. And we found my son's trophies in the bottom of a box in a bin, not even wrapped. And one of them was already broken. So we started opening boxes that next morning and realizing that they were going so fast because they weren't packing anything. They were just putting everything into a box. They actually dumped my one desk. All the drawer stuff was just dumped into a box. So we called Home Safe that morning. It was about 7:30 once we started opening all the boxes and we realized how bad it was going to be. And they said, all right, well, we'll call the company. But in the meantime, please file a claim. I'm like, well, I don't want to file a claim right now. I was like, I want to focus on getting it corrected. How do we get all the stuff unloaded? And she's like, all right, we'll just file that claim. And so she wanted to go through the whole process of filing the claim whenever I wanted to make sure that everything was going to get done correctly. So yes, then the movers showed up and they had been called. That was the one thing that did happen. They had a phone call. Mm-hmm. And we identified probably between 8 to 10 boxes that we had them completely take apart and repack. And we found that one of the movers was brand new, wasn't with the company, and had never done a move before. So it's just this other third person that they didn't even know him. Mm-hmm. And then they ended up repacking all those boxes.
So a lot of things ended up getting repacked. So, and that was on what was supposed to be your loading day that they ended up doing that repacking and then finish packing. And then they also did loading on that day as well as planned.
Yes, they did. So they were there from about 9:30, I think, till about 7 o'clock at night that night. They were there and made a comment the day before that, oh, it's going to only be a couple more hours tomorrow, and which it wasn't.
Right.
So by the end, they were very frustrated, you could tell, because every single item they would pick up, they would be like, is this going to? Are you moving this? And we're like, yes, we're moving this. This is all going. The entire house is going. And it was a constant, well, are you sure it's going? Yes.
Yeah.
But just, we had to then start taking stuff apart ourselves because they were just taking stuff as is, like the legs off a couch, the simple things that you would normally pack in your separate box with all the legs and screws and accessories. They weren't doing any of that. It seemed like they were better at doing like a local move where you don't have to take stuff apart and wrap it. And you can just deliver it from house to house locally.
Right.
They were not taking inventory of the items, which we really didn't identify until we received it. And then the driver who was in charge of the inventory, everything was electronic. So he's trying to scan all these items and do all this stuff, and the system, I guess, wasn't working. And by the time my husband went to go sign for the inventory, his phone was cracked. You couldn't read it. He didn't have the tablet that he was supposed to have, I guess, to actually show the inventory. So they left without us having to sign for it. Because, I mean, we kind of had to at that point. Looking back, it's like, well, why did you let them go without signing an inventory? We had no choice. We had 3 days at that point to be out of a house before we were going to get evicted. And we didn't know if an eviction would impact buying the new house, if it would impact his security clearance or his polygraph coming up. So there was a lot of other things that we knew that if we let it go and we made them stay there, there was going to be other consequences for us.
No, absolutely. And one of the things that you mentioned in there is something that we're seeing kind of as a common theme for a lot of families with their local agents is, as you said, it felt like they were better suited for a local move rather than an interstate move, that they were, things that you could put into a box knowing that you're going to load it onto a truck and in a couple hours you're going to unload it and unpack it. The furniture that's not all the way taken apart because you're going to just put it on a truck and then an hour later take it off of the truck. That is a common theme that we have seen time and time again with a lot of families. And I know several others that ended up having to have their shipments repacked because when they opened up a box or when they went to go move a box out of the way, just the amount of rattling that happened inside that they realized things were not packed properly to be able to do an interstate move across the country. So in all of this, I want to touch on a few things here. So in all of this, so you mentioned when you had those issues with the packing, you contacted HomeSafe. HomeSafe was able to contact the company and help rectify some of that. Was there any communication with your local military transportation office through any of this, or just with HomeSafe?
Well, they actually showed up. Which we were surprised about. We had never seen this before. They showed up and gave us a business card, did like a little checklist, like how is everything going? We told them our issue and they said, well, was it resolved? We're like, well, yes, it's been resolved. And they're like, oh, we can't list this as an issue. I'm like, okay. And then they told us to stop taking stuff apart. We were actually in the process of taking apart my husband's shelves that were in the garage. And they're like, you need to stop doing that because it's a liability. I'm like, well, they're not going to do it. I was like, they're already mad at us that we made them rebox all these boxes. I was like, they're not taking anything apart. They're picking it up and putting it on the truck. So we tried to talk to them about that, and then they ended up leaving. But I was surprised that they did show up.
Yeah. So with that taking stuff apart and the local office saying that that's a liability, did you guys stop taking stuff apart? Did you finish, or did they step in and start taking things apart?
We finished.
You guys did all of that?
we had to, I mean, it was stuff that if we didn't have such a short time frame anyways, we would have done to prepare for that type of stuff. So that way we knew where all the screws and everything was, and we could wrap it up and bag it. So since we didn't have that, and he had been gone the entire time after we had our orders, we would have done all that anyways. So we knew that we needed to get it done. And if not, we're chancing that we're not going to have it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. If anybody's got questions, feel free to drop them into the comments. We'll be happy to answer what we're able to get to or what we can answer. So please don't hesitate with that. One of the other things that you mentioned in there a little bit was about your inventory and that how you weren't able to review the inventory because of the cracked screen on the phone. There wasn't a tablet. So through this process, so at any point afterwards, did you guys ever receive an inventory?
Just recently. He just signed for it, and they backdated the paperwork back to the day of load. I was actually able to save the digital signature page and save it showing that we did not sign it on January 7th. We just signed it here in February to show that in case whenever I have to file a claim, that we just now they just did it.
Yeah, no, I'm glad that you were able to save that page to be able to show that it wasn't signed at origin when they loaded it, because that will definitely most likely come into play when you go to file your claim and everything. So I'm really glad to hear about all of that. So MJ's here joining us, so saying that they forged your signature date. So when you say they backdated it, they made it look like as if you signed it back when it was picked up.
And actually, they changed the whole document. Whenever we arrived here, I downloaded all the documents that was on HomeSafe. There's on the bottom right corner, there's all your documents. I went through, downloaded them all just in case. And the one document they had him sign had a couple blocks in there, and there's nothing else. So once he signed it, it auto-filled with our inventory. And initially on our original inventory, it said service member will validate on load inventory. Well, that's the same day. They did the pack and load the same day. So yes, they definitely backdated that. But I have the digital certificate copy that shows that he just signed it.
Which I am so glad to hear that you have that. So good for thinking of knowing that you needed that. All right, so let's continue to move on through the process with your move. So you recently had delivery. I know your delivery was not past the required delivery date, which is amazing to hear. Can you share some leading up to how did you get to your delivery date? Because I know there was some back and forth in there. Can you share what that was like and what you guys had to go through for that?
Yes, we were lucky that we were actually buying a house from friends who were also in the middle of their own PCS process, not with HomeSafe. So once everything happened, we made sure that we were buying the house earlier than we needed to, and we were going to allow them to stay into the house until February 1st. We kept on the road for the first 2 days. We had to drive from California to Virginia, so it took us, I think, 6 to 7 days with a kid and a dog. The first couple of days, we kept getting emails saying, we've confirmed your delivery date as being January 17th. And I'm like, well, that's not correct. It's supposed to go to short-term storage until we officially get the house February 1st. So we kept getting these automated emails, kept calling saying, no, it needs to go to short-term storage. And then finally we talked to our friends, and I made the joke to her. I was like, if it shows up, I'm so sorry. I was like, we're trying to fix it. And she was like, your move was so bad. Let's have them deliver it to the house. She said, let's get rid of that third party and having it being touched 2 to 3 more times. Let's just get it in the house, know it's here, and it's not lost. So we did that. We called HomeSafe. My husband called HomeSafe. Was like, is this possible that we can change the short-term storage to a direct delivery? Yes, we can fix that. And we're like, great. We got a confirmation email the next day saying we have changed this. We're like, we've seen these confirmation emails before. Let's call again. He called 2 to 3 more times. kept getting the automated response of, yes, we switched it over. You will have your stuff on this day. Well, that date came, and I had air tags in my stuff. So we watched it go from California all the way to Virginia. And one of the things I didn't mention is we lucked out that we had a driver that they loaded the truck, and the driver was directly taking that. They had to pick up a couple of people, but they were directly taking that truck to Virginia and dropping it off. So it was the same one company. That's one of our other saving graces, was we didn't have any other movers involved really. So he took it, he drove across the country, and then we saw it that morning of, we're supposed to get it at Hampton Roads Moving and Storage. We're like, great, maybe they're picking up stuff, picking up people. Let's see what it is. And an hour later, it's still sitting there. We're like, oh no, are they dropping our stuff off at storage when we had arranged for it to be delivered to the house? Mm-hmm. He called HomeSafe. Yes, it's being delivered today. It is. He called again, and they're like, oh no, it's going to storage. And then every time he would call, he would get a different answer. So finally, he called Hampton Roads Moving and Storage. We're like, what's with this truck? Is our stuff still on there? Like panicking. And we found out from them after a couple of calls that yes, the truck was there. It had not been unloaded yet. And it's 20 minutes from your house, because we could see how close it was to us. And after we ended up talking to the operations director, which is the saving grace in this whole thing, was Hampton Roads refused to unload our stuff off the truck until HomeSafe could figure out what they're doing. So he intervened and was like, no, we're not taking this. And that truck driver actually sat there the entire day while we were having these discussions. And it was 20 minutes from the house.
Yeah.
It was just insane that they spent an entire day just sitting there, and they could have just delivered it to the house like they had said. We were on the phone with HomeSafe, my husband was, and after this was like phone call number 6 or 7 of the day. And they're like, well, it's Hampton Roads' fault. They're not confirming. We're sending them messages. They're not confirming that they're not going to take this stuff. I got on the phone with Hampton Roads operations director, and we put him on speaker so he could hear what they were saying. And he confirmed that no one's talking to them. They've been trying to contact HomeSafe, that no one has said anything. And come to find out, HomeSafe was just messaging people inside their own company to get an answer, and no one was picking up the phone to make the phone calls, to get it done. Let's figure this out. You have a truck driver here that's sitting here 20 minutes from the house that's now wasted an entire day, and is going to have to spend the night. And you could have just arranged this to happen like you said you were going to do 4 days prior.
Yeah.
So it was great whenever HomeSafe, we were like, well, how can we confirm this is being delivered today? And she's like, well, my supervisor told me, and she wouldn't tell me if it wasn't the truth. And we're like, that doesn't do anything for us.
Yeah.
We then got a phone call from Hampton Roads Moving and Storage, and they said the truck is leaving our facility. And at the same time, we got a call from HomeSafe saying, or an automated response from HomeSafe saying it's being delivered. We rushed over to the house to get another automated notification saying it's being delivered the next day. And we're like, what is going on? Are we getting this stuff? And we knew we had a great chance of getting it because the storage facility was refusing to take it. Mm-hmm. And it would have been our saving grace, is knowing it couldn't go there. Mm-hmm. The truck driver then called my husband directly, which was we had begged for a phone call for this truck driver. Mm-hmm. We actually had called their company to try to tell the truck driver about the change, to give him a heads up. He called and was like, I will be there the next morning at 9:30. And that was the only thing we could trust, was the truck driver. And come to find out from him, they weren't telling him anything either. So he was sitting there not knowing what's going on with our stuff the entire day. And HomeSafe is just saying, we're sorry, file a claim about it. And that was their thing, was they would apologize for everything, but not get it done, not pick up the phone to make those phone calls.
Yeah, I mean, that's another one of those common themes that we've been seeing a lot with shipments with HomeSafe, is the lack of communication. That seems like a phone call here or there could help solve
drastic.
lot of issues and help make things a lot smoother.
Mhm.
But nobody wants to pick up a phone and call anybody. Everybody wants to use the emails. Everybody wants to use the text service and not pick up a phone. If you send a text and you don't get a response in something like this, it's okay, we'll give them 5 minutes for somebody to use the bathroom, get a whatever, and then come sit back down. And then, okay, no one answers. Let's now pick up a phone and call them. So, like you said, you lucked out that you had a great person there at that company that was on your side and wanting to get your stuff delivered and didn't want to have to touch your stuff again, knowing the situation that you guys were in, which is really great when we can have those people and be able to have those moments happen.
Yes.
Knowing that you had the ability to take delivery, knowing you were 20 minutes away, knowing your stuff was already on a truck and they didn't have to use manpower to unload and then reload another day. So we go through all of this and we get to delivery. How does your delivery day actually go? How was that day?
They showed up on time. That was the best part. They showed up on time. The driver did not have any inventory sheet. He didn't have access to it. And for probably most of that day, he spent on the phone with HomeSafe trying to get it. And by the end of the day, he still did not have it. So my husband was brilliant. He's like, print out the inventory sheet, have one of our friends do it since we were from this area. And they did. And so I sat at the end of the driveway, marking off all the numbers. And we found that over half of our stuff was either not labeled or not tagged with a number. If it was tagged, the description was completely wrong. It was like a hamper for a frame, or it was a hamper for our TV. We had inventory numbers completely skipped on the inventory. So you would have, I think we had about 6 numbers in total that there has to be a sticker on something, but it's not even listed on the inventory sheet. And then another we had at least 40 to 50 items that had no sticker at all, though. And that's where if we would have let it go to storage, we would have lost a lot of stuff. I was even finding some of our stuff shoved over to the far left where our stuff wasn't. And I'm like, that's our box, but it wasn't with our stuff in the far right. Yeah. So they started bringing everything in. We had 2 movers. I believe one was from Hampton Roads and one was another local mover. So we at least had 2 people to deliver for us. And they were dumbfounded at how they were finding everything to be packed in the truck. We had our huge, I'm the one with the TV picture that was been going around where they literally taped the remote to the top corner. And one of the movers is actually like, he called me over. He's like, you need to take a picture of this. He's like, it's that bad. And I'm like, there's no way. And so he's like, this was not wrapped. He's like, your other TV is in the truck right now, not wrapped. He's like, your bed is in there, not wrapped. So he held it up. He's like, take a picture. And so I did. And I couldn't believe that they had taped the remote to it. And luckily, I don't know how, they weren't broken. We found other boxes that we had missed in the initial pack day that we were going through all the boxes, where they had just put like my husband's reenlistment flag and all these important items just in a box on top of each other, on top of a vinyl record player. So they had no consideration for our stuff on the load end, but on the delivery end, they really did. They tried their best to get everything in as much as they can. But then at the end of the day, we still had no inventory, which is really the most important aspect to your move is that inventory. Without that, you don't know where, I mean, once it's in a storage facility, you can't identify it.
Right.
So before they left, they actually had to take my inventory that I had circled and noted and stuff and had him sign that, and he took pictures of it. That's how we did the inventory at the end of the day, which was completely unacceptable. Like, we could not believe that they brought our stuff. At least we had our stuff. That was the important part. But yeah, you could tell that the movers were very inexperienced, and the driver, he also said it was his first drive ever. So it was, it was interesting.
Yeah, no, definitely. So yeah, her TV with the TV remote taped to it. We posted that several days ago. In another post with some other pictures there to kind of show what that experience was like, the lack of paper, the lack of proper packing, and all of that. And so now you're in this situation where you have an inventory that, as you said, the numbers are not matching up exactly to what the actual item is. You have an inventory that's on your customer portal that has a forged signature on it that's backdated to a date when it wasn't signed. And now you're in this situation where you're going to have claims to file, and so how is that whole process of filing claims going to go when numbers aren't matching up?
I try to do it initially. So for the numbers that are there, I can click the box to file a claim for it. There's a button that's about notifying them. It's on the left. That button doesn't work for me because we're still in home safe, marked as being delivered. A month later, we're still under the being delivered category. It says your movers are delivering your stuff right now. So I don't think any of that I'm going to be able to even do until they fix that we've actually been delivered. We're done with that part. But I don't think they were even able to move us through that system because of the initial inventory. So I'm anticipating that we will get another. That was the load inventory. Or sorry, that was a pack inventory that we have. We haven't even been sent the load inventory sheet to sign yet. So I don't think until they fix all that I can still actually file a claim. So that'll be the next step is trying to figure out what we can claim for. And what about all the stuff that's not even on there?
Right.
That we may have to claim for. Like our sleep number bed wasn't even on it's not on the inventory. It's not on the high value inventory. It's on nothing. Because by the end of the day of the load, they were just so tired. They would just get everything in there. They didn't even get to that point.
Yeah. So now that you're through this process, you at least have your stuff now. All of these issues that you have had to encounter, what has the impact of this PCS been on your family?
For us, this should be the last move. If this would have been the first move, I don't think he would be staying until retirement. We've done these moves before. We knew what to expect. But then all these curveballs from this move, I don't know if we would be staying in. We lost 2 good days. The last 2 days with him, one was spent complete with him on the phone, just calling everybody. So that day was gone. I mean, we knew we were going to lose a day to having everything delivered, but it was just we were stressed the entire time we were driving across the country after having spent all that time with the movers and seeing how bad they were treating our stuff, and that we're worried what's going to happen on the next end of it. It was not a pleasant experience at all. And for all the first time families with their moves, if they have this experience, there's no way they're staying in, because we're not going to treat our family with that amount of respect. And being able to make sure that our stuff goes from point A to point B every single time, I don't see how people are going to stay in.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely, I mean, as you said, had this been your first PCS, that it may not be a full military career that your family would have. These experiences are definitely going to impact the retention issues and impact the readiness issues as people have these experiences and they start making those hard choices of when it's time to re-enlist or it's time to continue on. Do they want to stay in and continue to put their family through these situations, or do they decide, this is enough? We want more stability, and we'll find that on the civilian sector of things. For everything that we just heard for this PCS experience that you had here with HomeSafe, how does this PCS experience compare to your previous PCS experiences?
Completely different. In previous times, we had all of our stuff put into crates, sealed. We knew it was going to be at the next destination. This time it was just put on a truck and we had absolutely no clue. And the only reason we did was because of the air tags. The inventory process, I've never seen one so incorrectly done in every single inventory that I've ever seen. Our last move, maybe 2 or 3 boxes were missed or not labeled correctly. This one, at least half of them were. So it was completely different, and I was very blindsided by how bad it was going, and then it just kept getting worse. And now that we have everything in here, luckily it could have been so much worse if it would have gone to storage because of their lack of preparation and wrapping it and making sure stuff wasn't going to get damaged.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So what, for a quick little summary here, what would you say would be the top 3 issues that you experienced during this PCS?
HomeSafe's communication is the top one. Everything from their chat service. I mean, it's great you can chat with somebody, but if they have no idea what's going on, to calling someone, it's great they're answering the phone, but they still have no idea what's going on, and they can't do anything.
Right.
So they can message their supervisor or message this person over here, but they have no ability to do anything. Actually, I wrote down even how they apologize for everything was so generic, and it was every single time from every person. It was the same lines. It was the same script. We're so sorry. I understand. And I'm like, you don't understand. Yeah. As like everybody keeps saying the same one line and how to file a claim. It's like, I don't want to file a claim. I want to get it done. Then the other one is going to be your movers. We could tell we had inexperienced movers. I'm not even sure where they came from. They didn't know how to pack. They didn't know how to do an inventory. They didn't know how to do a military move from start to finish. Then they tried to tell us that we couldn't pack non-perishable goods. And I'm like, we've done this so many times. We can pack non-perishable goods. And so we ended up having a dispute over that one on what stuff could we pack and not pack. But yet they packed aerosol cans and all this other stuff. And I'm like, oh, you're going to fight me over my pasta. It was baffling, and it seemed like they had never done a military move at all. So that would be number 2. And the other issue is the documents. Right, we talked about the one backdated. There is a document I know for a fact is forged completely with the signature. I have it downloaded. Or all the other documents that just say service member will validate unload inventory. So all these documents that we've always been told, don't let them leave until you sign it. Don't let them do this. We had no access to it. There was no way to fix it. And when your driver was on the phone for 5 hours during the delivery and still has no access to it, that's an issue that they're trying to get it. So that was the documentation. Yeah.
So there's something that I've heard you mention several times now, and that has been that HomeSafe has told you repeatedly, just file a claim for it. Just file a claim for it. And that seems to be the answer to everything. Just file a claim instead of them taking some time to figure out the cause and the issue and how to rectify it and how to solve it and fix that and to prevent it from happening to other people. It's just file a claim. And so it feels like, if they just took a little time to address the issue, then maybe they'll save some money in all of the claims that they're having to pay out, because that seems to be their go-to answer of, just file a claim. We remember 6 years ago when I got started with PCS advocacy and the first open letter, one of the things that I had in there was, the answer to everything just seems to be, to file a claim, and that shouldn't be the answer to everything. We should be able to expect our stuff to be packed properly. We should be able to expect our stuff to show up on time. We should be able to expect our stuff to show up in the same condition it left our previous house in, and that just filing a claim shouldn't be the blanket response and answer for everything. But here we are. It seems like we've come full circle that now we're back to that being the response for everything. Just file a claim. It's fine. Just file a claim.
Yeah. And they're definitely not, the company itself is not flexible whenever stuff has to change. They can confirm it as much as they want, but they're not set up for that. And we all know with military moves, stuff changes constantly. And something my husband had told me while he was so frustrated over the phone, he's like, in the military, you have to get it done. They tell you to do something, you do it, you figure out how to get it done. And that's, at the end of the day, it needs to get done. And with Home Safe, that is the exact opposite approach. Theirs is, let's reschedule it. Let's do it a different day. It's like, no, you need to get it done this day. And I failed to mention that on the day after of all this, that we had our delivery, he had to fly back out. He's back now in California until he can PCS, until he can separate in April. So we literally had a less than 48-hour window if we wanted to get this stuff in, make sure it was all there, or it was going to storage, and then I was going to do it myself. So, for the military, we need to have someone that can get it done. Like, pivot when we need to pivot, and at the end of the day, that's all needs to happen.
So there's a comment here from Melissa, I'll throw it up here, saying that they don't have to pay the claim, meaning Home Safe doesn't pay it. The driver, the local agent, and all of them pay the claim. And I've heard that from many too, that Home Safe just takes it directly out of what they would pay them. And that there's no way for those local agents and for the drivers to, rebuttal anything or to counteroffer or to offer any proof as to them not causing the damage or whatever it is. And so if you are a local agent, a driver, and you're sitting here and you're watching this, listening to everything that's happening, I guess I would put it on you of, it's a, do you want to have that liability? As much as I hate saying it, that would suck that, the network grows smaller and more of our community has to suffer and has to wait a little bit and have to have dates that get shifted and moved around. It could also be an eye opener of, their business practices of what they have and how that impacts the agents as well. That maybe, if that network grows smaller, they might reevaluate exactly how they are handling those things as well. In your move, what did go right? Did anything go right for you?
We looked out that we had a driver from start to finish. For all these families out there that I'm hearing, you have like up to 4 different people different companies touching your stuff. We looked, that was the one thing we definitely looked at was he picked up our stuff from California and drove it to Virginia. And then we ended up seeing him here in Virginia. And then the other thing that went right was, I will not say enough great things about Hampton Roads Moving and Storage. That their customer service was amazing. And not only that, they followed up with my husband a couple days later just to make sure we got it. So they followed up, and Home Safe still to this day hasn't followed up, and we're still being delivered.
Yeah. We got a couple more comments here I want to look at really quick. One here from Ashlyn, just file a claim and fill out your move survey are both reactive and can't ever rectify the issues in progress, which is absolutely, correct. That, when we identify an issue, when we bring it to somebody's attention that this issue is actively happening, just file a claim should not be that answer to everything. We want you to actively fix what is happening now. Absolutely important to fill out your move survey. Those always come at the end of the move, be able to provide your actual experience for that. Also, we have in here Rhonda sharing to report things to your transportation office. So that way they are looped in, and that way they know of the issues, especially if they start seeing a repetition and pattern and repetition and issues happening that they can be able to help, maybe sometimes take action on. I would also add in there too, depending on your situation, how severe it is, what other issues you have, reaching out to your representatives as well, and filing a congressional is definitely an option that you have as well. A question here from Kevin for you, Stephanie. Have you had the survey sent to you? Have you filled it out yet? How has that gone?
We had the load inventory survey sent to us, or the load survey. That's all we have because we're still in the system not marked as finished.
Yeah.
So not until I think I'll probably have to call them and have it manually moved over. And I don't know if when that happened, if it's going to bypass surveys and everything. But we did do the first one, and I left a very long feedback. So it was, I think, at least 2 or 3 pages.
Oh God. We got a couple of other ones in here. I want to throw this to you first, Stephanie, because one of my questions I had prepared for you was for those, MJ, we're actually going to come back to you in just a minute. Stephanie first. For those families that have an upcoming PCS that are going to be utilizing the Home Safe program, what advice would you have for them in order to prepare for their PCS?
Well, actually, we have friends that are now going to be doing the exact same thing from California. I told her, AirTag your stuff, either wrap or keep your most valuable stuff with you. I mean, if I would have known my son's trophies, which mean the world to him, I would have kept those. And we actually ended up pulling those from the move. All that stuff that if you really lose it and it's that sentimental, debate on keeping it with you or packing it yourself. All the bins that I had packed myself are completely fine. Also, a lot of this stuff is, if I would have known it then, it would be different. The inventory, sitting there when they're doing the inventory, I would have paid a little bit more attention to that, but I was so used to that being done. That the inventory part was, they were doing it. And I saw them doing it, but I didn't know how bad that was. So if you have the time to do that part and sit there and watch them do their inventory, you can. But also for the outsiders looking in, it's easy to say you should do something, and even after the facts. Sorry, my son just walked in. It's easy. It's easy to say you should be doing something, and then hold on a second, sweetie. Sorry about that.
Okay.
But just being kind of like I've been seeing some comments, and I've been following this now since you posted the petition. Actually, it was on our pack date. Was when you posted the petition. I've been seeing some comments like, well, you should have done this, you should have done that. It's so easy to say that. This whole move was so overwhelming from start to finish. Yeah. I didn't even do the normal stuff that I normally did. Like having to take stuff apart the day of. I've never had to do that type of stuff. So, so that's, and be prepared, be flexible.
Absolutely. So I'll jump.
Sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I guess the last thing is help out if you know a family is going through this, offer to help watch kids, help. I mean, if I was there, I'd be sitting there helping them with inventory. So, I mean, if you want to help out your fellow servicemen's spouses as much as you can, I think that's going to be our key right now, is helping out.
Yeah, absolutely. And such good advice there. So jumping back to MJ's question, what can MilFams do even before getting orders? I would say, based off of some of the things, and Stephanie, you can chime in here too, some of the things that I have seen from families is to, if you're able to build some extra time into your timeline. We've seen a lot of families have to shift their dates, some that their confirmed dates were not actually supposed to be confirmed. That what they thought was confirmed was not a real date to them. So build in some extra time for that. Stay on top of communication with HomeSafe. So when you put your dates in, continuously contact them for updates, continuously contact them to make sure, if you can, find out the names of your agents of the local company coming to pack, the company that your stuff's supposed to be taken to, who it is that's hauling it. I've heard from several that they are told, they find out their company is company A that's going to come pack. The customer asks for contact information and they're told, well, we can't provide that, but you can Google it and find out. So why not the greatest answer? Definitely take the opportunity to look up, contact them, make sure you're on their schedule, double check the dates that you're on their schedule for, because we've seen several that have said, HomeSafe has said, oh, they're going to pack you on Monday. the customer reaches out and the company's like, well, we don't have you on our schedule till Wednesday. We can see what we can do to try to get somebody there on Tuesday, though. So definitely try to loop in that communication as well. And then, as you said in one of your first comments, MJ, document everything. I've been telling people, kind of open the notes app on your phone, and every time you have an interaction, a phone call, an email, a text, whatever it is, be sure to make a little log of the date, the time, who you talked to, what the communication was about, so you have that documentation there. I'm going to check a couple more comments here as we wrap up. Let's see here. Janet asking, are those who've had moves move back to DPS because of no-shows, etc., able to leave a review with the survey? If not, they're going to have far less honest reviews of their poor communication. And that is true. So if your shipment gets pulled out of HomeSafe and gets pushed back through DPS, you do not get the HomeSafe survey. You should get a survey for your move, and you could probably leave in the comments box somewhere in there that your move was originally a HomeSafe move and it was reawarded through DPS for whatever reason, but you don't get a HomeSafe move survey, so you're not able to provide that feedback directly to them. Misty here saying, after listening to all of this, as well as everything that she's read, does HomeSafe have any accountability put on them through this contract? It seems no. That's one of the things that we've asked too, Misty, is about that accountability. That was one of the things why Transcom was so excited about this contract, is that it's going to give them one company to have to interface with rather than all of the companies that participate in the DoD program. We did see that HomeSafe did issue a show cause notice a couple weeks ago. No details about that or if they've met that or what comes next, but they did issue that show cause notice to HomeSafe. But other than that, it honestly feels like there's no accountability. That we are steaming full ahead into peak season, and that the issues that we are seeing now are usually issues that we don't see until June, and they're happening so much earlier. So we'll see what happens with that. And then the last thing I want to throw up here is going to be from Jordan. Call your congressman, tag HomeSafe on X. We can be respectful while still requiring answers and requesting accountability. Absolutely true. I encourage everybody that's had an experience with HomeSafe that's been less than desirable to let your representatives know, so they understand how this contract is actively impacting family members and being able to share your experiences. If you're doing a PPM or planning to do a PPM, contact your Congress representatives as well to let them know what that lowered rate is having as an impact to your family and to your finances as well. It's only when we can speak up together and be able to share these concerns are we able to get actual change that is needed to be done. So that's kind of where we're at with everything. Stephanie, I want to thank you again for joining us and being able to share your experience and being able to give some insight as to experiences that are actually happening on the ground.
Thank you. I've been watching all your videos and following along ever since this all started. It would be interesting to see if we could ever get someone that actually works in the call center from HomeSafe to talk. I've been debating on applying to some of those jobs that they keep posting just to find out what is really going on at that end. I'm really curious.
We have some insider information, and let's just say that they are currently unable to speak on anything publicly, but it is as bad as what we think it is on their end as well. From what I've been hearing, that they feel stuck in their role of not being able to do a whole lot and having, as you said, that scripted line. I'm so sorry to hear that. We completely understand. We are working on it to find you a company and to secure you a move. I will pass this on to my supervisor. Someone will call you in the next 2 hours. The repeated broken record player that many people have heard. So yeah, definitely. Everybody else, thank you for taking the time on your days to join us and being a part of this conversation as well. We do have a few other families and spouses that are lined up. Several of them are are waiting until everything is finalized on their end. You know, some of them are waiting until they finally get to their destination and get their stuff delivered as well. But just know that we appreciate everybody that is taking the time to either join us on this webcast and be able to share the experiences, or those that are calling Congress or sharing in the groups what their experiences are, so others are aware of and others can be prepared and know. If anybody else is PCSing and you guys want to share your experience, please do not hesitate to reach out and message the page. We'd be glad to have you on. And anybody that's having experience and wants to be able to share their experience with a reporter or the media in some way, message the page too. We've got people asking every day, wanting to talk to families. Would love to be able to connect you to somebody in your region as well. Stick around, you know, follow the page. We'll have more webcasts posted soon, along with a lot of other information and things as we see this contract unfold and as we roll towards peak season. Stephanie, again, thank you so much for joining us today. And everybody else, make sure until next time, take care of each other.